And we are live. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode with me, wherein we will talk about AI, GTM, and how the world is changing in general. So, today I have an amazing guest with me with whom we've already done one LinkedIn Live, and I loved it so much. And I specifically love her content on LinkedIn. She's coming up. Her book is already launched. She just told me about it. So, super excited for that. When she's not revealed, but she said maybe 100 plus frameworks which are model agnostic across AI. So, how do you really use AI? So, today's topic makes real sense to me that work less but grow with AI, do more with AI. But I think I have a whole list of questions prepared. I already have a few questions with me in DM that we would want to ask Ashley. So, welcome, Ashley. But I'll start with a quick introduction and then we'll move on. So, the official introduction is that Ashley is an AI productive strategist and founder of the AI Workforce Alliance. She helps teams move beyond experimenting with AI to actually making it useful in everyday work. As an AI trainer to Fortune 500 companies, she focuses on building simple workflows and systems that reduce manual tasks and helps team to spend more time on high value decision where human input is actually needed. So thank you so much, Ashley, for joining in today. And please, everyone, keep throwing your questions in the comment section. We will take it up.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be back.
Yes, thank you so much. So the first question is on the topic itself. And let's talk a little bit more about the topic, do more and work less with AI. And does it mean like, is it for everyone? Is it for individuals? Is it for companies? I mean, you train Fortune 500 companies. Is it for them? So what do we mean by the topic, and what more can we, how can we do more and work less with AI?
Yeah, absolutely. This can be true for everyone, and it is true for everyone. I would just say it holds true only if you are intentional, because most people are adding AI on top of broken workflows, and then they're wondering why they're still buried. And the real promise of using AI to work less is that AI is going to compress the time it takes you to do that work that used to require either a deep work expertise or just hours of grinding over the same tasks over and over and over again. So that's really, in my opinion, if you set that intention, you're going to have to decide what you're going to stop doing and what you're going to do more with that freed up time. And as long as you have that intention, you're going to be fine. It's going to work regardless of if you're a small company, solo founder like myself, or an enterprise.
I think that's great, but I mean, I had a productivity related questions regarding that.
Okay.
So there's a paradox called Jevons paradox, wherein we say that if you start getting productive at something, you just start doing more of it. So like LED bulbs, for example, they consume 90% less energy. So instead of using electricity for actual use of lighting up our houses and doing real work, we started using electricity for beautification. We started lighting up buildings, towns, cities, and just using LEDs everywhere. So it's not that the work stopped, we started consuming more of it. Now, how do we really work less using AI when the consumption has increased? I mean, one email we used to write, used to think, properly structure it and write it. Now we are constantly having a conversation with GPT. Oh, give me 10 more versions, 20 more versions. And that one email, which probably took me 5 minutes, I'm spending 20 minutes to perfect it. So,
Yes.
how does this work? And how do I stop from doing that?
I love the way you phrase that. It's true though. It really is. So the goal and setting an intention is really defining what outcome you want before you start using AI tools, which is something that a lot of people are not doing. So what is the outcome that you want for the problem you're trying to solve for? And if you can answer those two questions and you find an AI tool that's on the market that can solve that problem for you, then you add AI on top of it. But you have to be able to define what that problem is and what the outcome is that you're looking for. Because if you're using the AI tool for that problem, you're going to hit that outcome. The problem isn't that people are hitting their goals and then they're inundating themselves with more work for fun, right? It's that they never had a goal to begin with. They were just using it because of this promise, this allure that it was going to save them time, but they didn't
Yes.
measure time. They don't know what they were doing before. They didn't think about calculating what that looks like to them, because it means something different to everybody. Not everybody wants to save time and spend it on a vacation or spend it on themselves. Some of them want to spend it on their families or not take any time off and just climb, the corporate ladder a little bit quicker than they usually would pre-AI because they have the internet at their fingertips and they can learn about anything they don't know, right? I think that that's the nuance of spending the free time that you have getting bogged down with more tasks.
That makes sense. But you talked about outcomes. So I love that structure that you gave. And I'm going to catch on to that and ask my next question. The structure is deciding on the problem and then the outcome that you want. So, what are the KPIs that we need to take care of? So, if you take the email example, I want to send out an email for to my prospects, for example, and existing set of customers whom I want to. I'm just taking a random use case here, but my existing customers, I've launched a new feature and I want to probably expand and like ask them to kind of get more revenue from my existing customers. Now, there's this whole email campaign that I need to plan around it.
Okay.
I start with the strategy. Now, just can you run me through how do I make sure that I want to do this? That's the outcome that I want. The problem statement is my product team has told me there's a new feature and they want more revenue from existing customers.
Yep.
How do I use AI in this case and how do I go from here?
Okay, so you really want this campaign to come to life. Your product team is saying that we have to tap into existing customers. You fundamentally believe that this needs to be a campaign for new customers. Did I encapsulate that correctly?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
So in a world where AI can deliver that scalability and you can create a workflow, you can create an email, you can create a sequence that's really great and it can be replicated that much faster, that's the perfect use case for it. Why can't you have the best of both worlds where you go create a new campaign because you do have that expertise and you had that historical context? So I have no doubt that you're onto something already because you can't replace your experience and your strategic lens that only comes with experience. No AI tool can ever do that. So you should go create a new campaign for new prospects and do this the way that you envision it. But simultaneously, you can stand up 3 different sequences because if you have these customers already in your CRM, you know how you got them, hopefully, right? You know what's keeping them. You can look at metrics such as volume of emails, volume of calls to see where their questions are coming up with customer success managers, what percentage of your product they're using, not using. And while you're creating that content to fill that gap, because the product team is saying go after our current clients, why wouldn't you repurpose that information if it's educational about your product to new customers? You can do both. You don't have to choose. And I think that that's the beauty of it. And you defined it really well. The only thing that I would add is what does that quantitative metric look like that is going to be in between the problem statement and the outcome? So if it's saving 10 hours per week on emailing sequences so that you can do both, use cases and A/B test both, current customers and future ones. If you hold that line of I'm going to get 10 hours back, keep it. And when you achieve that, don't go fill it with something else. You already accomplished something that a lot of people can't stick to. So keep that guardrail, keep that box around you that says, okay, I did this. Now I'm just going to look at this use case where I emailed all of our current customers and this use case where I emailed new ones. What did I learn from this experiment instead of just quickly moving on to the next one? Because there's so many golden nuggets that people just like very quickly forget, or it's not this big, shiny, money saved number that they're used to being accustomed to seeing. So they quickly pivot and there's so many more use cases that they already uncovered. They're just not taking a second to jot them down and really understand what they did.
No, I think that's a very beautiful point that you made there, that you need to first understand that the experiment that you ran, what really happened, success, failure, did it do well, did you really save time or not? Because AI feels so magical, you start doing the next thing. You feel that, oh, there's some result that happened here, oh, let me run 10 more sequences, and then you're already like that consumption problem, that you're consuming so much of AI and you're feeling like, wow, I'm doing so much more, but then you end up doing things which are not really producing results, and you end up spending the time. So you haven't really saved time despite integrating AI. Now we have a question here, which is somewhere on topic, but let's see. I've been following both of you for some time. Thank you so much. I have a question for Ashley. In your experience, what's the most common workflow bottleneck where adding AI tools backfires, creating more overhead?
I would say it depends on the company, and it depends on a few things. It depends on the maturity of the company with technology. It depends on the company culture, and then it depends on the workflows. And if there is a pressure tested, documented way of working. So there's 3 variables, but stereotyping and throwing out some problems, I would say probably where AI tools make a mess. Any task where you can't identify someone doing a good job or you can't point to a good example of it already happening and you're trying to solve it with AI. Like if you don't have anything good to start with, if you can't point to someone who creates really good outreach sequences or somebody who does a really good job sending out, landing pages that are personalized for a prospect, if you can't point to someone in your company already doing a good job to replicate that success, then you should not be adding AI to it. It's immediately going to cause a bottleneck. It's really good at amplifying. So if there's garbage, it's going to amplify that garbage. If there's something there and it's documented, it's accurate, it's been pressure tested, then it's going to amplify that and make your life a lot easier.
I think that's a great garbage. And I mean, there was a term called garbage in, garbage out. And as Ashley said, amplification is what AI does. So if you don't have someone or you don't have a process which is already working, using AI would like kind of backfire rather than help the use case. So there's another one, another question on like what should you not use AI for? Where do you draw the line for not using AI? I think
Okay,
that's
so
an interesting one.
I was going to say, these are great questions. Again, I think this is very personal for everyone. So for me, I don't let it speak for me.
Hmm.
I also don't let it think for me. So I haven't changed any of, when it comes to me being creative, there's a few things that I have to do that I wasn't always good at. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this sentiment. I wasn't always good at public speaking and I wasn't always good at creating content. And honestly, I don't think I've ever woken up one day and posted something and then like, you crushed it, girl. Like every day I'm like, did that come off the right way? Like, is this going to be interpreted well? So for me, I never use AI to replace what my creative process looks like for public speaking or for creating content because my workflow that makes me feel really good about my output is sticky notes. It's talking into my phone in the form of voice memos. There's multiple processes where, sure, I could automate them with AI, but then I would lose my confidence in what I'm saying and what I'm doing because that workflow is so personal to me. And it took me so long to get comfortable with that outcome that I'm fine leaving that workflow the way that it is, even if it means it's going to take me a little bit longer. So I would just say anything that you really feel great about and you don't want to improve, or you spent years trying to fine tune this process, this workflow, this job or task already, don't add AI to it because the way that these tools are being created and deployed right now is you could be married to one tool and then they update their features and the next week, every dependency you had on that tool is completely gone. So, and then you're back to square one and it's going to feel even more frustrating because you got used to being dependent on that tool and now you're back to doing it manually.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair point. I mean, so the person who asked the question has pinged me again saying that, but I keep asking Claude to rate my processes, and then it keeps finding flaws in it. But I don't like the recommendations. So should I trust AI or should I go with my instinct? And, okay, that's pretty deep. But yeah,
I
actually,
love that. No,
yeah.
always go with your instinct.
Hmm.
There's always different use cases. And I find it so funny that, I started implementing AI into my workflows in 2020 and the conversations have gotten a little bit broader in terms of use cases, but we're not even scratching the surface for what's possible and what really is a good use case because we can't elevate the conversation. And so don't feel like because everyone else is talking about using AI the same way, that that's putting you into a box that you have to use it that way because it's far from that. If you start using it in ways that nobody else is, maybe that's how you use AI. Maybe you say, what is 20 ways to use this tool that nobody else on the internet is using right now? Search all of the search engines, search YouTube, search Reddit, and find me 20 use cases. And then you look at that list and you try one of those. I like to re-architect.
That's amazing. I think trusting your instinct is what I'm going to take away from this because that's very true. We've given a lot of power to AI. We give it a lot. We add a lot of associate a lot of value to it as well. That what AI is saying is definitely has to be true. How can AI be wrong? And this is where you kind of start second guessing yourself and your instinct, and that's when probably even your workflow starts suffering. There's another question. I'm not able to go back to my questions. Okay. Ashley, I followed you from your podcast you did where you shared your init and workflow. Do you still use workflows and automations, or have you transitioned to something else? Are you using skills and agents? What is the best way to think about using it? So that's the whole
Oh,
question.
okay. So 3 questions in one. So I am still very much using automations. N8N is, if I'm building an automation, that is my choice simply because I've put in the most reps with that tool. I'm the most comfortable with it. And I really like to come from the perspective of, I want to, one, make sure that what I'm trying to connect is good. And it's not just Ashley thinks it's good because I wrote it down and this is the first iteration of it. I want to really challenge my thinking and make sure that my knowledge base, my tools, whatever I'm trying to connect together is already in a great place. And so from there, I move on to an automation. So I will always build an automation, even if I know I'm going to build an agent. The way that I teach it, the way that I implement it on my own is I will start with an automation, because that's really where you can see, okay, here's all the potential areas that this connection could go wrong. And then you can add in those agentic features and scale that out as you develop this risk versus reward mindset, kind of like a matrix. And as you develop, you put in the reps with this automation, you add one agentic feature here, one there, over a set amount of 2 weeks. It's not as scary to give up control. There's no point in using this technology if you're not going to trust it and use it every day, then you're just wasting money. So you have to think about what's best for you. And in terms of using tools with skills, yes, but for defined use cases. So I like to look at what are the solutions and the categories of the solutions that exist today, and what are some of those good use cases for each of those. And that's how I decide what solution I'm going to use. But 100%, I absolutely will use connectors and skills for certain use cases. Did I get all three of those questions in one?
Yes, you did. And Nabila, in case you have another question, please put that across. I'll take it up. Having said that, Ashley, I think you talked about, there was a point while answering this question when you talked about like a workflow, automating the workflow and automation, and then moving to an agent. And that
Yes.
seems like a very nice structured way of looking at things. From your book and all of the different structures and workflows and playbooks, processes that you've shared there, which one's your favorite that you would want to talk about and scream and tell the world about? Like pick one or two and give us that diamond directly, to all of this audience before the book goes live. Give us like your
I have so many automations, and honestly, I think it's just kind of where I'm at. So I'm a solo founder, and I went from being a solo founder of one company to two because there was a need for the second company. And so as I was becoming a founder for the first time, admin work, right? Like any automation that I could do that would automate admin work, whether that was taking my receipts so I could take a picture and it would automatically categorize it, add it into QuickBooks, balance my sheet for me, my P&L statement. Those were at the time very much my favorite because that was what was keeping me from making deals happen and the strategic things and conversations I want to be a part of. Now I would say working with enterprises, probably the most beneficial automation is automating your CRM updates, which sounds simple, but people do spend a ton of money trying to get different versions of their same CRM just because those bigger versions that are $200, $300, $400 a month come with like an AI feature that promises you automatic updates or like call recording that will parse it and update it for you. And they never work out. And so instead of spending $200, $300, $400, why not just take that license at 75, build an automation that truly does that, that's not reliant on that specific CRM and their product roadmap and is in your control and immediately gives you back that time. So that if we were on a sales call right now, the moment that it ends, that transcript's going up, it's being parsed, it's going to look for those keywords and the questions, and then it's going to match it to my CRM. And then automatically send out a message to maybe my manager saying this account with these contacts is needing this. Here's Ashley's next task. That just saved me two hours updating my CRM, adding all that information. And not only that, but the rework, because at some point I'm going to get back on the call with you. And if I didn't have time to update that CRM the first time we got off the phone, now I'm panicking because I don't know what we discussed. I didn't update my notes. I don't know what you want from me. And it's adding more pressure to myself that's not necessary in this day and age. if I'm going to feel pressure, I want to feel pressure because I'm not prepared for this conversation, not because I had to manually, take an hour out of my day to update my CRM and I didn't do it right.
Yes. No, I think it's very interesting. There was a use case that someone had mentioned for the enterprise that CRM data updation is fine. It was a sales meeting, and this gentleman goes on to say, "Can you create like a one pager for me that my sales rep can just look at and just do the meeting? Can you make that happen so that the sales rep does not have to do that 1 hour of pre prep or 2 hours of pre prep before going into that meeting?" Just comes in, spends 10 minutes reading that document, goes into a meeting and nails it because it has all the pointers on what would move the needle for this client and has all the research done. So what you're saying is reminding me of that conversation, because if your CRM is updated, if all the information beyond the CRM also gets captured, so you're like the next list of tasks is ready before the meeting even happens.
Yes.
And you gave a great example for a one person company as well. So before I move on to the 2, 3 questions that have come, I want to add one more. What's your favorite framework for startups? Because we have a lot of founders who have very lean teams, like 5, 6 people team. They're probably at a 500K kind of an ARR, 500K to 1 million, trying to like doing the founder led movement to get to that 1 million mark. So what's your advice for them? Which is the workflow that they should automate or get an agent to do it for them?
Okay. I would say you can't go wrong with choosing something that you hate doing. That would be the easiest answer is think about the work that you hate doing. I'm sure there's a lot of tasks that you hate doing. Automating one of them would automatically make you feel a little bit lighter and happier. I think that's really important to just kind of highlight because startups it's really stressful. Mental health is a huge topic that kind of gets grazed over. And so anything that can put you in a positive headspace to make you motivated so that you can get back out there and you can have that passion, I don't think is a waste of time at all. But I would also say, just selfishly from being a marketer for over a decade, you have to be online. And so the real ROI to me is there's so many people that are afraid of taking video content and just being online. But if you have a business, you have to be online. It's a non-negotiable. So play around with avatars, with automating, talk tracks or creating infographics on Canva or editing a video onto script, right? Maybe you're someone who is just bogged down by all of your work. And so when you're recording, you're looking at your screen, but it needs to look like you're looking at the camera. The script, right? One click of a button and you're looking at the camera all of a sudden and you didn't have to. So I would say think about really in terms of what is preventing your business from being noticed by more people. Is there something that you're not doing that you're perhaps not doing because you don't want to? It feels uncomfortable. Maybe we add AI there to alleviate some of that, because if you're not making money at the end of the day, you're not going to be in business and you can't automate anything.
Yes. No, this is amazing. I think the great insight is for a lot of millennial founders out there, and I see that a lot, that I cannot make video content. I feel very shy. And I told them, hey, you can create an avatar now. I think you have a solution finally to the problem. And that's what you said, Ashley. You got to be out there. And automating something, getting AI to do something which you don't like doing is the best way to use it. On that, we have a very interesting question by a founder who says, can you suggest a quick audit framework for teams to identify workflows for which are ripe for like an AI redesign, like
Oh,
some
that's a
audit
great
framework?
question. That's a great question. So, yes, my framework would be actually very simple. It would more so be a checklist, if anything. It would be, does every team have a documented way of working? So is there a standard operating process for the way that they get work done? And does it live somewhere? When was the last time it was updated? From there, I would then, if you want to get into a framework, if you do have a documented way of working for your team for those different tasks, I would then have the most senior person on that team and the newest hire on that team on 2 separate calls, show me an example of the way that they're working. So if it's documented, amazing, first check mark. But then I want to take those 2 people in separate calls and just say, show me how you do this task. I know there's documentation and I can figure it out myself. Just show me. The way that they show me how to do this is going to be completely different, right? The person that's been more senior here is probably going to take a couple shortcuts because they've figured out a way to hone in some of those efficiencies and get their time back. But at the same time, maybe the new hire is going to do things a little bit more efficiently, or they're going to throw us a curveball and they're going to add something into their workflow that didn't exist on paper. So it goes from making sure it's written down to comparing notes, and not in a judgy way, just in a observant way. And then taking those workflows, those video workflows, and saying, how can this be more efficient? I want to
Mm.
save 5 hours. How can I consolidate this workflow? Can I marry a couple different workflows so that not everything is siloed and segmented? Because oftentimes it is. That's
Yes.
really the framework that I would recommend.
Wow, that's really interesting. I think writing down what you're doing is the most difficult part. The step one is what we shy away from,
Yes.
and which is doing that is the otherwise, how would you really create something of value which drives outcome, which was what you said at the start? So that all adds up. Um, there's another question which says, is AI, do you think AI is changing the craft and scope of marketing altogether, or just the pace of it? So basically, the volume. So from what I understand from the question, there's a little bit more of description around this, that we are able to probably produce more content. We're able to do more volume of content also. So do you think the craft overall, how has marketing changed with AI, and what are the things you need to be mindful of? So this is something that I would want to add on to the question.
It's gotten louder. Marketing's gotten so much louder because of that exact reason. And the answer is very rarely putting out more content. That's everyone's like gut reaction, because we're horrible at balancing our own lives. So when we get this technology in front of us that can just mass produce, we're like, yes, you're going to build me 10,000 blogs, instead of saying like, who's going to want to read 10,000 blogs a month? Like who's are we okay? Like, what are we doing with that time? It's either going to be AI generated and our reputation is going to tank because people are going to see that and not trust us, or we're putting out 10,000 blogs and people are going to not read those. And instead of trying to figure out another strategic way to increase our overall brand, we're just sticking with the same channel that we've been doing over and over again, but ramping more out. So it's getting noisier. That's how it's changing marketing. And the answer isn't putting more out. It's actually using those tools to figure out what everyone else isn't doing that you could be doing. If everyone else is mass producing content, guess what? They're also the same people that are cold DMing you. They are pitch slapping you. They're sending you emails that didn't remove the template. So when you get the email, it's, hey, your first name. And you're like, delete. Don't even care if you're going to offer me $1 million. Right. So
Yes.
we're getting to this point as a society, and we've been there, honestly, where we crave value, we crave honesty, we crave transparency. And even if you're not in sales, you're always selling something, and that's going to be human to human. So figure out a way to use AI to enhance what you're good at, find the gaps of what you're not good at, and then help you either ideate or validate your strategy and how to improve. If you can experiment rapidly, there's no reason why we should be waiting until a QBR happens or a retro happens 2, 3, 4 months later to find out if something didn't work. We have that data now. We need to adapt in real time now. That's what we should be using these tools for.
No, I think that's an excellent take, that marketing is getting louder, but instead of just following what everyone else is doing and doing the same thing, find out your unique niche and how you can stand out in this loud crowd now. All right. So I think there's another question that had come to me initially that was
Okay.
from students. I mean, it's like a very different community altogether, but there's a lot of grads who are passing out this year in 2027 and even 28 who are like, oh, there's this whole narrative around AI is going to take up your jobs. There'll be no white collar jobs by the time you pass out. And then just building up on that narrative are a lot of edtech companies selling lots of courses around AI. Do this and then you can make money from college and all of that. And there's a lot of confusion within the community on what to do, what not to do. The overall movement around AI is happening so fast that I think colleges specifically are not able to kind of move with it, because there's a whole process to how colleges introduce courses, right? So it's not really covered in the curriculum. So they have to go out. What is your advice to them, Ashley? What should they do? Like something that you can tell the student community on how to approach this piece overall?
I would say that you have an opportunity that even as millennials, we did not have, because we were not raised at a time where you could learn any skill just by prompting back and forth and asking some questions and be given sources. So you really shouldn't be afraid of anything. If anything, you are very unlimited in the scope and the paths and how many times you get to change your mind, because it's so much more normalized now than it was for us. I have recently, within the past few months, hired someone who was pre-med, and he's still planning on being a doctor. And I hired someone who is a finance major, right? Those are two careers and majors that you would never anticipate wanting to come and work for an AI consulting company, an education company. And they specifically wanted to because the pre-med major really liked the fact that he was going to be a doctor and still is going to be a doctor. And he really wanted to look at the whole function of medicine. So, not just diagnosing the patients, but understanding the historical context of diseases, what's environmental, what is genetic, like how does he treat the whole person? And that's really deep, but I like to show those examples because you can find out as much information as you can right now without wanting to be an ed tech, without wanting to be an AI consultant, just because you simply want to figure out how to use these tools to gain the most knowledge at a time when it's untapped and you can truly learn as much as you want. So you're not limited by any means. The market is dictated by largely emotions, and it's going to go where the money goes. And money is a very emotional currency. So trying to plan a safe career path and a safe job around where the market is silly. The titles that exist right now didn't exist 4 years ago, right? Like AI consultant, that sounds like a made up job description and title because it didn't exist a couple years ago. We are taking our experiences and our skills and adding the ability to use AI tools well. And we're creating new job titles with salary ranges and job descriptions that are going to continue to build and build and build throughout the years. So this is really your opportunity to think about what you've always been interested in and maybe you shied away from because you didn't think you would make money, and then figure out a way to absorb the technology that you have at your disposal right now to change that, or to change your mind, or just to do more research and not make your mind up at all right now, because any of those are fine.
I think very interesting answer, because he said you have the opportunity to learn. But what I got really out of this answer is that don't focus on going after a course and charting out your fixed path, because that might change. Rather, focus on getting the experience. So I think experiential learning of actually joining someone who's building in this space, who's probably building in a space that you are interested in and building with AI, join them, learn from their experience, because that would teach you rather than any other course that you join and kind of mug up different tools, because the tools are changing. And
Yes.
that brings me to almost the final question. We are on time. I didn't even realize that we are past time.
Okay.
So which are the AI tools that you swear by? So like your top ones.
Okay. My answer today might change, a week, 2 weeks from now. So, and that's the beauty of it. I'm not married to my tech stack for the most part. So I would say in terms of AI tools that I couldn't live without right now, I would say in no particular order, Notion, because I'm using Notion with the connectors the same way that you can use Claude Cowork, except Notion is my knowledge base that contains everything and anything, every process of working, every email, every idea, my brand voice, tone, guidelines. So I like to connect AI tools and other tools from there. I also really, really enjoy N8N, which is an automation tool, but it does have agentic capabilities, which is why I'm giving it a shout out. And then, oh my gosh, this is so hard. I would probably say Perplexity, only because you can choose between the different models. And I don't like being put into a box with one LLM. I like options for the different tasks I'm doing. And so having Perplexity as a browser is really helpful.
I think that's a good list to start with. The somebody else was also mentioned with Copilot. I use a lot for marketing in my role as an executive assistant for financial advisors, trying to decide the best type of agent to create to help secure my future. I know I need to learn more. I think they just said sharing experience. It's not really a question, but thank you so much, Dee, for joining in. And when you have a question, you can definitely send that across to Ashley or myself. I can also take it up with her. And so, Ashley, one last question before we wrap this up for the day. How do you think AI is changing the world, in your opinion, personal opinion? How is AI changing the world around us?
It's changing the way that we are used to communicating. It's changing the way that we are used to waiting for an answer or developing a skill and gathering experience until it's a habit. because you have this instant gratification, and that can be really great for some people, and it can also be really dangerous. And so it's changing the world in the facts of it's making everything feel like it needs to happen right now. And when you're using an AI tool every single day and then you're standing in line at the pharmacy, right, for 15 minutes and you're like, oh my gosh, this is taking forever because you're not practicing patience every day, or you're not having human connections and conversations every day because you're strategizing, with an app. It changes the way that our behavior is subconsciously without us realizing it. And it can be really great, and it is really great. But I think that with all things, we as humans, again, are not good at balancing. We are not good at doing a good job of being mindful of when enough is enough, and is this burnout or is this busy work. And so just trying to implement AI around you in a way that gets you to your 5-year version of yourself that you want faster is really the best advice that I can give for people, because you can really have it all right now, and you can truly accomplish more than you ever have if you do it the right way. But you can't do it without intention, without goals, and just showing up consistently for yourself over and over and over again, because it might look like overnight success or a bulk, marketing at scale, but it's not. It's years and years and years of experience with an AI tool that's helping replicate something that took a human years to accomplish and fine tune.
Absolutely. I think experience is what you bring to the table, and that is something that cannot be replaced. But maybe after some time that AI has really learned from your experience, I don't know where the world is going or headed towards. So, thank you so much, Ashley, for this beautiful and amazing session. I have so many people writing great session, insightful. Thank you, Swati, for doing this. Oh my God, thank you so much. I'm glad that Ashley agreed to come on this LinkedIn Live. So thank you so much, Ashley. We might bother you again for another session because
Please.
we have so many questions that have come up. And so we should do one once we get your book. I would love to order your book, read the book, and then do a session with you, because
Yes.
that would be really amazing.
That sounds
Thank,
amazing. I'm anytime.
thank you so much, Ashley. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.